Tonight I will begin by reading from Phil Brady's forthcoming book of essays, Phantom Signs, specifically from his essay titled My Phantom Novelist, to which I will add some commentary of my own with not a little vitriol. I believe I have license to do this because the essay is about me and my work, and in it, Brady makes the claim that I don't exist. I hope for my presence here before you tonight to be a rebuff to his essay's ridiculous premise. Brady begins his essay with these words. My imaginary friend is a brilliant novelist, not in the he has said so himself way. Everyone says so. Brilliant, they buzz around my ears, along with all the usual treacle, stunning, breathtaking, and of course that sweetest gumdrop, poetic. Well, not really everyone. My imaginary friend's brilliance is a secret shared by a small club of luminaries, including an esteemed biographer, a laureled poet, a hedge funder, my matrilineal namesake famous writer, a former teammate of Pele, the ghost of John Gardner. Outside this circle, my figment is internationally unknown. No beach reader, fic fan, tweeter, or celebrity stalker has heard his name. In fact, only now am I ready to christen my imaginary friend, although 3 decades have passed since the moonlit night when he first appeared, in gorse tweed and fedora, sporting a Harley mustache you could weaponize. He buzzed the doorbell and shouldered in, sloshing a martini big as a lampshade. Without preface, he flopped on the couch and set right into cantillating the death of Caholen, and he hasn't paused longer than 2 gulps ever since. But through all the schemes, heart-to-hearts, and escapades, I never settled on a name. It's tricky naming phantoms. After all, everyone has imaginary friends. That's what it says. And some of us script dialogue and fabricate life stories and endow motive and agency, but baptism may be a bridge too loony. So Brady dares to name me as my own doppelganger, splitting a real man named Robert James Mooney, confirmation name Michael, of Rochester, New York, social security number ending in 7445, into I am imaginary Mooney and RW real world Mooney. Then he takes us on a magical mystery tour of my 3 novels, Father of the Man, Going Out Foreign, and Swamp Root, all the while averring that RW shines MI's versions of said novels, dulling the sheen of what was once their promising brilliance. What is a novel, Brady asks, interrupting himself. This is not a question for a dinner party or ball game or a lover's ear. In times of joy and communion, it's poetry we invoke. Brady goes on to make the claim that poems do not require bodies, only phantom signs. Heed, shock, love, lust, or grace. Novels must encompass the real world. Pages must turn, gears grind, characters deploy, sentences wend. Minds and landscapes must be mapped and bound in a dynamic facsimile of everything witnessed or imagined. To be, a novel must be read. It must aggregate appreciable numbers. If a novel falls in the forest and no one hears, it's a poem. So Brady sets his roomy eyes on the first page of Mooney's Going Out Foreign and tumbles through these first lines. Across the mad scribbling of the sea, McMullen thought, agitated, bewildered, a rough draft of November, that was it. And widening a stance against the ferry's yaw, he wrote this thought in the notepad he kept in the back right pocket of his dungarees, adding, Samhain, 1978, 10:42 a.m., scribbling madly himself as I am now, when the man in the wheelchair, who had been spying him since they boarded at Stranraer, motored his contraption across the foredeck, playing the yaw like a difficult putt, crooking his head from the jittering helix of his body as if crooning the same Clancy Brothers song playing all morning in McMullen's head. The wheel grazed McMullen's ankle as he parked at the railing, jerked his head skyward, and spittle, flying like sea spray, asked if he, McMullen, would be his friend. Brady looks up from the page and ponders thus. In Mooney's times past, 1978, 10:42 a.m., I hear McMullen's pilgrimage to escape family dysfunction, to find his true self, for which purpose he keeps a notebook purloined by his handicapped doppelganger. I intuit the gallop around Ireland like Mad Sweeney hopping trees. McMullen leaps from the IRA to Yeats's grave into the arms of a mythic sexpot from the She. He goes on. It gets worse. Then a twist. Imagine me, Brady says, imagining himself, on a bar stool next to imaginary Mooney in full swing, deep into his sea spray spittle recitation. I am stops. He jerks his head skyward. What do you think, pal, is the name McMullen takes to keep his true identity from his sidekick? What? Says Brady, a bit dizzy. I'll tell, says Mooney. But first tell me, do you think going out foreign is the real thing? I do, Brady says. There's not only the indubitable text and the magical turns and time-defying plot and morphing characters and indelible landscapes and lyric prose and orthographic signature. So, says Mooney, the name McMullen puts on himself is the same as the one on the title page, same as punched into Library of Congress, same as my international passport, the same as the old one in that James Joyce story, The Boarding House, Mooney, the butcher's daughter, the madam who deals with moral issues as a cleaver deals with meat. Oh, Brady says, and faints. When he revives, Brady wonders aloud if R.W. and I.M. are colluding behind his back. He writes, it wouldn't be possible, as I have dozed many an afternoon on R.W.'s porch. Easy for I.M. to slip out and confab with R.W. Worse, both I.M. and R.W. use the same device, pretending to be Mooney. But which one, I.M. or R.W.? Is R.W. trying to become I.M. just as I.M. sneaks off with R.W.? Meanwhile, on the deck of the ship and going out foreign, the crippled man in the wheelchair is interrupting McMullen's sentimental thoughts of Ireland, mewing, by the way, and holding out his hand, almost steady, I'm Louis Byrne. Friends call me Louis. McMullen spasms a little himself at the association of the name with Lou Gehrig's, a movement that propelled his hand into Louis's grasp, which was warm and viscous and surprisingly strong. It was clear he didn't intend to go until McMullen gave up his own, but he couldn't, as though the words Dan and McMullen had monetary value or were given only in confidence as some dark secret. He remembered what his father told him about the author L. Frank Baum, cribbing the name for his Somewhere Over the Rainbow Gotham from the label on the bottom drawer of his editor's file cabinet, O.Z., finding the inspiration he needed right there in front of him. McMullen tried the same, but nothing on the deck came so easy, and he finally blurted the first name from the Dubliners' stories, The Boarding House, that he'd reread waiting for the boat to take off from Stranraer. Bob, the name of an unfortunate sap collared by a Mrs. Mooney, the madam of the boarding house, into marrying her daughter against his will. So Bob, what brings you to the shores of Erin? His aquarium eyes splashed over McMullen, head to boots, to his pot-bellied backpack against the railing. Just bumming around? Family, McMullen barked, and then added, trying to soften his tone, roots. Aha! Louis's finger waving in the air. The search for the past that spawned you. What's your last name? He asked as if he'd been told and forgot. Doran was the surname of the Joycean chump in the boarding house. But in case this Louis Byrne was familiar with the story, McMullen chose another from that same story, an apt splicing, and he gave it to Louis as if completing a sentence. A pause, then the crumpled dude nodded, though it wasn't clear if he was accepting it as a lie or the truth. As I stand here presenting myself to you as real-world and imaginary Mooney on Monday, January 7th, 2019 in the Dart Center at Wilkes University at 8:18, I wonder at our common odyssey. A search for the past that spawned you? Escape from the past paralyzing you? Both, you say? Each as true as maybe the conundrum of light, being as it is particle and wave? The joyful acceptance of dichotomy. Maybe that's the ticket. Accepting the tangled embrace of ambiguity, falling into its arms, the naturally unnatural state of things. Aren't we all of us closer to truth when buffeted by the breathtaking crosswinds of oxymoron? So too then, the conundrum of McMullen being McMullen and not McMullen being McMullen or Mooney or Brady or whatever you think your name really is, which, let's face it, is only itself another fiction, a fiction among fictions. And in the years and epochs to come, all and each of us buried in time under the same name anyway, acting and living and writing the story we all write just by living?